goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and
Is there more to Nice Pool than meets the eye? Justin Baldoni seems to think so.
Have you ever wondered what happens when one of Hollywood's biggest jokesters meets an outspoken, self-branded activist, only to erupt in a feud so chaotic that everyone's left asking who the real villain is? In the glitzy world of A-list celebrities, Ryan Reynolds has built his empire on razor-sharp wit, while Justin Baldoni has carved a name for himself by preaching empathy and progressive masculinity. On paper, these two couldn't be further apart. Yet, somehow, they've become the central players in a legal and social media firestorm that has fans around the world choosing sides. One moment, you're laughing at Ryan's sarcastic tweets. The next, you're reading a lawsuit that accuses him of orchestrating a brutal smear campaign. Welcome to the strange reality where blockbuster humor clashes with bold accusations, and the stakes keep rising. It's a story of reputations on the line, with shocking twists that not even the best screenwriters could make up. Did Ryan cross a line with his biting jokes? Or is Justin exaggerating for sympathy? Why did Blake Lively, one of Hollywood's sweetheart stars, hurl such serious allegations at a man who built his brand on being woke? By the time this whirlwind finishes, you might question everything you thought you knew about comedic boundaries, celebrity activism, and how quickly the public's opinion can flip. Ryan Reynolds has long been the darling of snarky humor, charming his way into people's hearts with quick comebacks and playful banter. Fans love him for that brazen comedic style, an irreverent approach that gave birth to his iconic portrayal of Deadpool. Critics have praised how he manages to make sarcasm seem strangely lovable. At first glance, he's the guy who can do no wrong, posting viral memes, teasing fellow actors, and churning out blockbuster after blockbuster. On the other side stands Justin Baldoni, actor, director, and self-proclaimed advocate for healthy masculinity. He wrote books, gave TED Talks, and directed content aimed at opening dialogues on vulnerability and empathy.
Director is taking additional legal measures amid the drama that involves Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds.
Many pegged him as the ultimate good guy, the champion of big-hearted sincerity in a world that sometimes rewards arrogance. On social media, it felt like these two would never clash. They were orbiting different universes. Reynolds was busy with witty interviews and comedic stunts for his next superhero flick. Baldoni was forging a path of earnest discussions about men's emotions and progressive thinking. Their fan bases rarely overlapped, and there was no known beef, until now. But sometimes, when charismatic stars meet behind the scenes, lines can blur in unexpected ways. One offhand remark, one comedic jab can spiral into a monstrous feud. So how did a beloved comedic actor and an outspoken activist become entangled in a lawsuit that's dripping with accusations of bullying, character defamation, and manipulative PR tactics? We're about to unravel that story. The first real sign of trouble came in the most unlikely place, a blockbuster project that had fans excited until they spotted something suspicious. Ryan Reynolds, no stranger to comedic freedom, knows how to poke fun at just about anything. But for some watchers, the introduction of a new character in the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine film raised eyebrows. This character, humorously dubbed Nice Pool, or Nis Pool, depending on the rumor, was described as a painfully woke, overly earnest figure. In a normal comedic setting, it might have been brushed off as playful parody, except fans and insiders started noticing parallels. Very specific parallels to Justin Baldoni. According to Baldoni's camp, Nice Pool wasn't just a random creation, it was a calculated jab. The character mirrored Baldoni's public persona so precisely that it felt less like comedic exaggeration and more like personal ridicule. Everything from the character's social media activism to the flowery language about feminism seemed to mimic Baldoni's real-life TED Talks and interviews. What could have been comedic gold for general audiences felt like a stinging roast for Baldoni, who sensed that the portrayal was designed to mock his entire personal brand. That brand, built on positivity, open conversation, and progressive attitudes, suddenly looked like an easy punching bag for Reynolds' cutting wit.
According to People magazine, Justin's legal team has sent a litigation letter to Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, the presidents of Disney and Marvel Studios.
Could it be that Reynolds, known to poke fun at celebrity culture, finally targeted someone who wouldn't take it lying down? Baldoni's immediate reaction, according to those close to him, was one of disbelief. Had he really become a joke in a major Hollywood film, recognized by millions? And if so, was it simply good-natured satire, or something more malicious? The initial frustration quickly escalated when Baldoni discovered that references to his speaking engagements and philanthropic efforts had been woven into the comedic script. It felt personal, but the real tipping point didn't come with just a cameo or comedic skit. It arrived when lawyers got involved and lawsuits hit the spotlight. The drama truly exploded once Justin Baldoni filed a lawsuit. What started as murmurs on social media about Nice Pool being a direct shot at him turned into an all-out legal battle. Baldoni's suit claimed that Ryan Reynolds went beyond simple parody, crossing into territory that damaged his professional reputation. The accusations ranged from defamation to bullying, painting a picture of Reynolds as a powerful Hollywood figure leveraging his industry clout to undermine Baldoni's career. Suddenly, headlines read, "Ryan Reynolds facing lawsuit over alleged smear campaign," and Justin Baldoni accuses Reynolds of bullying. In an industry where public image is everything, these headlines triggered a domino effect. Brands that once lined up to partner with Baldoni grew cautious, worried they'd be drawn into a messy scandal. Casting directors who had him on their shortlist began reconsidering. What if the big studios sided with Reynolds? Reynolds didn't take these accusations quietly. Almost immediately, his legal team fired back with a motion to dismiss. Their argument? Baldoni was being thin-skinned. The motion claimed that comedic expression, even if it mirrors aspects of a real person's life, falls under free speech. In other words, hurt feelings shouldn't be the basis of a lawsuit. Reynolds' attorneys even hinted that Baldoni's entire brand is about transformation from a past he openly admits was flawed. So how dare he sue over comedic reflection of that? The press, naturally, had a field day with lines like, "You can't sue over hurt feelings," and "thin-skinned outrage." It was as if Reynolds was doubling down, telling the world that satire is satire and it's Baldoni's problem if he can't handle a good-natured jab. Yet beneath the comedic bravado lay a serious question. Where does free speech end and targeted harassment begin? Just when everyone thought the situation couldn't get any more intense, Blake Lively stepped into the ring. Enter Blake Lively, a celebrity in her own right, with a long track record of roles spanning TV hits to major film projects. She's also Ryan Reynolds' wife, and that position placed her smack in the middle of the storm. Initially, most assumed she'd stay quiet or issue vague statements of support for her husband. Instead, she threw gasoline on an already raging fire with her own set of allegations, this time aimed directly at Justin Baldoni. Lively's claims were anything but mild. She alleged inappropriate behavior and harassment from Baldoni during the production of It Ends With Us, a project they had both been involved in. Worse still, she accused him of fueling a behind-the-scenes rumor mill to tarnish her reputation after the film's release. Was Baldoni using his PR channels to spin negative stories, effectively undermining Lively's standing in Hollywood? The timing of these accusations raised immediate eyebrows. Some questioned whether Lively's statements conveniently emerged as a strategic counterattack to Baldoni's lawsuit against Reynolds. After all, if Baldoni stood accused of serious misconduct, his own claims of being a victim might lose credibility. For those defending Lively, however, this was a moment of courage, a woman deciding she'd kept silent long enough.
There's always friction that happens when you make a movie like this.
This ends with me. I'm done. I'm tired.
While the public scrambled to figure out whose version to believe, the internet exploded with debates. Some sided with Lively, insisting that a progressive male advocate like Baldoni could be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Others felt uneasy about the suspiciously perfect timing, wondering if this was a PR tactic orchestrated to discredit the man suing Reynolds. But with new allegations come new layers of complexity, and soon the fans and media were the ones forced to pick sides. The court of public opinion is a fierce battleground, and it erupted the moment these lawsuits and allegations went viral. In one corner, longtime admirers of Ryan Reynolds condemned Baldoni for being overly sensitive, arguing that comedic parody has always been part of Hollywood. They pointed out that if you're in the public eye, you've got to have a thick skin, especially when dealing with someone famous for roasting everyone, including himself. In the other corner, supporters of Baldoni rallied to defend him, contending that Reynolds' brand of humor had crossed an uncomfortable line. It's one thing to make quips about your co-stars or do playful banter on Twitter. It's another to systematically mock someone's entire identity, especially if that person is known for championing a specific social cause. To them, the Nice Pool fiasco wasn't harmless comedy, but a humiliating experience for Baldoni, who saw his life's work turned into a punchline. Some fans found themselves torn. After all, nobody wants to believe that the famously witty, charitable Reynolds could become a bully. Yet the details in Baldoni's lawsuit and Lively's subsequent statements painted a haunting picture. Allegations of career sabotage, defamation, and manipulative PR strategies suggest a drama that goes far beyond a single comedic character in a superhero franchise. Then, there were the conspiracy theories. Perhaps Baldoni was staging a strategic stunt to boost his own visibility. Maybe Reynolds was merely defending his wife and doubling down to protect her from potential humiliation. Or was Hollywood's toxic underbelly being exposed again, revealing how easily stars can weaponize their power for personal grudges? Meanwhile, social media became a war zone of tweets, Instagram stories, and YouTube commentary videos dissecting every new development. Old interviews of Reynolds, where he made eyebrow-raising jokes, resurfaced and circulated widely. Clips of Baldoni's TED Talks were replayed with added skepticism. Did they ring hollow if he was now facing allegations of doing the very things he preached against? But personal beliefs aside, what does this fiasco say about the culture in Hollywood and the line between humor and harassment? Hollywood has always been a place where art collides with ego, but the Reynolds-Baldoni feud adds a fresh twist. It's a new chapter in the ongoing saga of how far free speech can go when your words carry massive influence. Reynolds has the star power, comedic clout, and loyal fan base. Baldoni brings a socially conscious platform, a supportive community, and a track record of philanthropic initiatives. The collision of their personal narratives reveals an undercurrent of power dynamics that many in the industry prefer to keep hidden. For years, Reynolds built a brand on irreverence, pushing boundaries, and sometimes throwing sharp jabs at fellow celebrities. But when your target is a fellow actor with a dedicated following, someone who actively shapes his public image around earnest activism, the comedic barbs hit differently. Many question if punching up can really apply to a scenario where both individuals have some measure of fame, but one is undeniably more powerful than the other in terms of industry reach. On the flip side,
less than 12 hours after Justin filed, Blake's legal team doubled down, calling the bombshell $400 million lawsuit another chapter in the abuser playbook.
Baldoni's claims of defamation force people to confront how easily comedic parody can become a weapon when enough money and status back it. He's argued that it's no longer just innocent banter when it seeps into real-world consequences, like lost opportunities, tarnished professional ties, and a swirl of negative gossip that can ruin someone's name. This feud brings Hollywood's hypocrisy to the forefront. It showcases how the industry preaches progressive values while simultaneously rewarding those who can spin the best narrative, comedic or otherwise. Despite endless talk about positive change, star power and PR might still hold the most clout in determining who wins a public showdown. And then there's the twist nobody expected, the deep dive into each man's carefully curated image, which has left everyone feeling whiplash. Before this drama, Ryan Reynolds was widely seen as the affable star who donated to charities, teased his own roles in self-deprecating fashion, and turned comedic marketing campaigns into a fine art. He portrayed himself as approachable, the guy next door with a big studio contract. Now, people wonder if his comedic fearlessness edges into real-life insensitivity, or worse, targeted bullying. His defenders maintain that humor is subjective. If we start policing every joke, comedic creativity dies. Justin Baldoni, meanwhile, championed vulnerability and open dialogue about men's emotional well-being. His conferences, interviews, and social media presence often revolve around the importance of respectful communication and empathy. Now, accusations from Blake Lively and the counters from Reynolds' team paint him as someone who might not practice the values he preaches. If these claims hold any truth, are fans witnessing a double standard in Baldoni's activism, or is this just a smear tactic orchestrated by his opponents? The conflict is layered. Two men who built personas on transparency, albeit in starkly different ways. One uses sharp wit, the other heartfelt sincerity. Yet both stand accused of hypocrisy. Reynolds for crossing lines in the name of satire, Baldoni for possibly wearing a mask of righteousness while acting differently behind the scenes. It's a narrative so dramatic, it begs the question, is Hollywood performance art seeping into real life, or vice versa? And as if these contrasting public personas weren't enough, the added tension from Blake Lively's allegations ratchets this feud into territory Hollywood rarely confronts so openly. The next major beat in this saga is the court's decision on Reynolds' motion to dismiss. If he succeeds, Baldoni's lawsuit might crumble, or at least be forced to reframe its arguments. However, a swift dismissal isn't guaranteed, especially if the judge believes there's enough evidence to warrant further examination of whether Reynolds' jokes transcended legal free speech and dipped into genuine defamation. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's statements hover ominously in the background. If her allegations against Baldoni gain legal traction, we could see an entirely separate case unfold.
It's my favourite story, I think, in showbiz this year. The Justin Baldoni war with Blake Lively, which seems to me, initially I felt quite sorry for Blake Lively.
At that point, the question becomes whether Baldoni will continue to fight on both fronts, defending his reputation against Lively's claims while pushing forward with his lawsuit against Reynolds. Will the same PR teams accused of launching smear campaigns dare to escalate the conflict further? The public, for its part, thrives on the constant drip of new information. Social media posts dissect every leaked court document and every offhand remark from a celebrity's interview. The involvement of big names like the New York Times and powerful publicists only heightens the spectacle. And in all of this, one can't help but wonder if the entire fiasco might ironically boost both men's visibility in the long run. Hollywood has a peculiar way of turning controversies into career-defining moments. It's also worth contemplating whether we're witnessing a permanent shift in how comedic content is received. In a time when activism is front and center, comedic portrayals that once seemed edgy might now strike some as cruel. The lines between comedic freedom and targeted bullying are being tested, possibly paving the way for new standards in how Hollywood manages parody and the real people it targets. But after all these jaw-dropping allegations and heated exchanges, one final question remains. Is this feud just a fleeting Hollywood scandal? Another example of two big egos clashing under the spotlight? Or does it signal something deeper about the entertainment industry's complex relationship with humor, power, and authenticity? It's easy to watch from the sidelines, find it amusing, and move on. But scratch the surface, and you see issues that reach beyond any single lawsuit. Questions about corporate influence, the weight of public perception, and whether comedic brilliance can justify humiliating another person. Ryan Reynolds may be the comedic anti-hero fans have celebrated for years, yet perhaps he now faces the unintended consequences of a style that doesn't know when to stop. Justin Baldoni might be the progressive voice people have admired, though he now stands accused of behavior that contradicts his public stance on respect and empathy. Blake Lively, caught in the crossfire, transforms from passive onlooker to active participant by voicing allegations that shake Baldoni's credibility. In the end, Hollywood has always been a high-stakes stage where image, narrative, and relationships intertwine. This saga reveals just how vulnerable even the biggest stars can be to public opinion, and how quickly alliances can turn into enmities when reputations and personal pride come into play. You, the viewer, are left to decide. Is there a clear hero and a definite villain? Or is this a story of flawed people grappling with power, satire, and the messy consequences of both? Whatever the final outcome, it's a potent reminder that beneath the polished smiles and witty interviews, celebrities are juggling reputations that can crumble at a moment's notice. The Ryan Reynolds versus Justin Baldoni showdown, fueled by a swirl of lawsuits, leaked documents, and surprising testimonies, might be just another Hollywood story. But it asks us to think more critically about what we applaud as comedy, what we condemn as bullying, and how easily the lines between the two can blur in a world driven by fame. If you've stuck around this long, you're clearly as invested in these twists as everyone else. Keep your eyes open, because if there's one certainty in Tinseltown, it's that there's always another revelation waiting around the corner. This may be the most unpredictable celebrity feud in years, and it's only getting started. And who knows, the next twist in this saga might be even more jaw-dropping than the last. Stay tuned.